Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The official alpha for Call of Duty Vanguard is of course here. I was actually fortunate enough to play it earlier on this week in an early capture session with a handful of other creators. Between my time in that cap session and of course in the public alpha now, I've learned quite a bit about the game, what to do, what not to do. I've definitely learned quite a few things that I have been doing wrong throughout my time playing it so far. So today we are going over a handful of tips that I think every single player who is on Vanguard right now should know. These are things that are going to help you improve in game, get more kills, win more tournaments, and overall, I think just have a better time on the game. So if you enjoy the video as we go through it all, or if you find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new here or if you haven't already subscribed, feel free to do so. That way you can always stay up to date with absolutely everything going on in Call of Duty. News, intel, updates, tips, it is all right here. So getting into what you need to know about Vanguard, some key tips that I think every player should know. Let's talk about a handful of different settings. Right away, this is a big one, and it's been a thing I think ever since Modern Warfare 2019 released. The first thing you should be doing right as you launch the game, go into your settings and turn off world motion blur and weapon motion blur. Yeah, motion blur is cool, it's all cinematic, and it makes things look really epic and dramatic sometimes. But for crucial gameplay and for wanting to actually be able to see things clearly in game, you want that motion blur off. You want to see clearly now the rain is gone. If you have it on, it's just going to make spotting enemies a bit more difficult. It's going to make spotting anything important a bit more difficult, getting sight lines down. Like, there's no real reason to have motion blur on. So it's on by default. Definitely make sure you go in, open up your settings right away, and turn that off for weapons and for the world. It'll just make your game look so much better in literally every way possible. You definitely do not want to have that one on. And while you're in there in the settings, there is one other thing you want to focus on, in my opinion, and that is automatic tack sprint. I'm sure we've been through this multiple times now between Modern Warfare and Warzone, of course. Our left thumbsticks are in pain if you're a controller player. You're constantly spamming it because we have tack sprint, because there's slide canceling and this, that, and whatever else. Turning on ATS and having auto tack sprint on is a thumb and a thumbstick saver, all right? The ability to just walk forward and automatically be tack sprinting is so beneficial. Not only is this going to essentially automatically improve your movement right away, it's going to be easier to maneuver around the map quicker, and like I said, it's going to save your thumbs and your thumbsticks. You don't have to constantly spam in on your left stick to move around and get that tack sprint going. It'll automatically go whenever it can. And yes, you can sort of slide cancel in this game. The movement is relatively similar to Modern Warfare 2019's, which we already talked about back in my first initial impressions of playing Vanguard. But overall, ATS is something you absolutely want to have on. Motion blur is something you absolutely want to have off. So those are two key settings I would absolutely recommend looking at. Of course, you also want to break down your sensitivity, figure out what works best for you. There's a lot of customization for different scoped ADS movements and sensitivities, so be sure to look at those. It's all sort of personal preference. I like more of a medium ground. Some players are just cracked out. They like a super high sensitivity. Other players are more comfortable on the lower end. It really just comes down to preference there. But like I said, ATS and motion blur are the main ones you want to look at. Now, when it comes to weapons, something that I've been loving recently in Call of Duty, ever since, once again, Modern Warfare 2019, is the fact that we've had predictive recoil. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, it's very simple. It just means that every single time you shoot a weapon, it's going to behave the exact same as before. The recoil is going to work the exact same as before. So if you shoot a weapon into the wall and you see it's going straight up, that means every time you shoot it, it's going to go straight up. If you shoot a weapon and it goes up and to the right, every single time you shoot it, it's going to go up and to the right. So it's a very straightforward system, and basically it allows us as players to memorize recoil patterns and counter those incredibly easily. I mean, let's be honest, Call of Duty recoil is really not all that hard to begin with, especially compared to some other FPSs out there, but predictive recoil makes it even easier. And from what I could see when I was testing in game, it does seem like predictive recoil is in effect here in Vanguard. I tried testing out some weapons, just shooting them into the walls, and it looks like they're going the exact same way and behaving the exact same way every time I'm shooting them. So from what I can tell so far, predictive recoil is active in the alpha. So if you're trying to master a weapon, when you're in the whole buy period in game, pick a weapon you want to use, upgrade it to whatever tier you want to be using, whether it's tier 10 or tier 1, and shoot it into the walls that are around there. Look at that recoil pattern and say, okay, I know I got to bring down the bar straight vertical, so it's just a straight down movement. Any weapon it applies to the exact same. You just have to learn that specific recoil pattern, and it's super easy. It takes literally 2 minutes to memorize that pattern at max, and you're good to go for life. Like, it's such a simple thing. So predictive recoil is in the game from what I can tell. And that makes mastering weapons and learning weapons very, very easy. Moving on, let's focus on some things you want to really take advantage of in game. Specifically, there's two things you can capitalize off of when it comes to extra lives or life tokens. This is big because obviously in Champion Hill, you only have 12 lives in total as a team, but you can actually extend that and expand on that a little bit. You're not going to be able to get 13 lives or 14 lives in total, but you can bring your number back up after it goes down. So if you go down to 10 lives, you could actually get back up to 12 lives. If you go down to 2 lives, you could in theory get all the way back up to 12, although it would be very, very difficult and very time consuming and require a lot of luck, but it's possible, right? So extra life tokens, these actually spawn on every single one of the 4 maps. They're usually towards the center of the map. It's a constant spawn every single match you're playing on. So figure out where that extra life token is, and if you get to it first in game, pretty self-explanatory, it gives you an extra life. So if you're at 5 lives, you grab the token, you're at 6 lives. Quick math for you. If you actually end up grabbing this extra life token when you have all 12 lives available, though, you get an extra $1,000, which is pretty beneficial. So no matter what the situation is, getting those extra life tokens is incredibly useful and can definitely help you out in game. Now, there is also one other way to acquire extra lives, and that's through the actual buy station. You can just buy extra lives for, I believe, $3,000. So they're relatively pricey, but if you've been slaying out and you've earned a lot of cash, you can buy a ton of different lives. I know there was one match I was playing where Courier Ink Slasher and I had like 5 lives going into the finals. We spent a bunch of money on extra life tokens and came out with like 9 or 10 lives, and that put us over the edge, and we were actually able to win because of that. So super useful to either save money and spend on those extra life tokens towards the end of an actual match if you're in the grand finals or whatever, or going after those life tokens in game. Both of those are crucial ways to keep you alive longer when it comes down to it. Then the final thing I want to talk about real quick is just how beneficial the spy planes are, because unlike a normal UAV, which only lasts like what, 30 to 45 seconds, spy planes or UAVs in Champion Hill last throughout an entire round. So when you're going in and you're playing on, Market or Courtyard, whatever map it may be, you get the UAV called in automatically if you buy one in the buy arena, and it lasts until that round ends and you switch maps. So that's a lot of information. If you are an aggressive player and the other players on the enemy team are not running Ghost, you can get a ton of kills because you're going to know exactly where those enemies are. Obviously, these are very small maps, so a UAV gives you some insanely crucial knowledge on where the enemies are going to be. And you can really seriously just drop bodies because of that. You can get a lot of kills in a single round and almost, honestly, deplete the enemy team's entire life, or lifespan, I should say, just off of one UAV if you can play it right. So UAVs, as far as streaks go, I think are definitely the most advantageous. So yeah, overall, those are a handful of things that I think every player on Vanguard should know about the game. A few tips and tricks to help you improve or to make your life a little bit better on the game itself. But that is going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, or if you found the video helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new here or if you haven't already subscribed, I am always covering everything going on in COD. News, intel, updates, tips, it is all right here. So feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know whenever I post a new video. As always, if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code IMMORTAL for a discount on all Scuff, G Fuel, Gamer Advantage, and Control Freak products. And the links for all those can be found down in the description below. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.